Hi everyone, and welcome to the Ball Chess Show. I'm your host Roland, and with me, the International Master Luis Medarde. In this video, we will cover the best traps in the Ruy Lopez or the Spanish opening. The Ruy Lopez, also known as the Spanish game, is one of the oldest and most analyzed openings in chess history. We covered this opening and all of its popular lines in our previous video. If you haven't watched that, please make sure you do so on our channel. But in this episode, our international master Luis will reveal the essential traps and defensive ideas that both sides must know in the Ruy Lopez opening. If you ever plan to play this opening or defend yourself against someone who is playing it, this video is a must watch. We would like to remind the viewers that we have a full academy dedicated to chess improvement. It covers openings, endgames, tactics, positions, complete plans, and checklists. Everything you need basically to achieve the rating of 2000s and beyond. If you'd like to learn more about this program, make sure you visit us at ballchess.com. And as for now, I will transfer the call to Master Luis to show us the best traps in the Spanish opening.
Hello. So as Roland has explained it, today we're going to be studying a few very common traps in the Ruy Lopez or Spanish opening that will be very useful to know and that apply not only on these positions but also in other openings. So, well, first of all, just a little reminder. Okay, what is the Ruy Lopez? Okay, the Ruy Lopez is the opening that that arises after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. So the first trap is useful to explain something important, that is, after a6, what happens if white takes on c6. The main move, by the way, here is bishop a4, as I explained it in the first part of this series of videos. But bishop takes c6, black should take with the d pawn. This is because now he's able to develop the bishop and also the queen, if needed. And now, important question is what happens if white takes on e5. After knight takes e5, queen d4, knight has to move. And after knight f3, queen takes e4, something like queen e2, takes. Black is completely fine here. He has the bishop pair, he can castle, so yeah, black is okay. So this line, I mean bishop takes e6 in this position, taking the knight, is called the exchange variation and was played by, for example, Bobby Fischer. But after d takes e6, instead of taking on e5 directly, what is not that great, the best move is to play short castle. Black has different moves here. If black were to play a random move like h6, what is a mistake, white can now take on e5. And when black tries to apply the same idea, queen d4, knight f3, queen takes e4, now white has a very strong move. You can take a second to guess it. Okay, rook e1, pinning black's queen. Not only in this video, okay, but in general, whenever I say one of the players has a very strong move, my advice is that you pause the video and you try to find it. So in this way, you can train also your tactical skills. So after short castle, there are many moves for black. Bishop g4 is possible and is what we're going to study, but also like f6, bishop d6, knight e7 has been played, queen f6, okay, there are so many moves, but bishop g4 is one of the most principal ones. And after a3, what is supposed to be the best move for white? If black just takes on f3, queen takes f3, white would be better. He has better development, he has castle, he has better pawn structure, so everything is good for white. If black retreats the bishop, this move is possible, but after g4, bishop g6, knight takes e5, white has an extra pawn and, well, he's fighting for an advantage. To be fair, black has some compensation here, but the best move, or at least the most common move, the move I'm gonna show you, is h5, defending the bishop. And here we can see that the trap that is after h takes e4, h4, if knight moves, like trying to save the knight, for example, knight takes e5 or knight e1, black goes queen h4. And this is black's idea. By giving out the bishop, he opens the h file, and now queen h1 checkmate is coming. White could think, okay, but I go f4, so queen h1 check, I escape, and I am a piece up. But instead of queen h1 check or queen h2, there is a much better move in this position. Black should first avoid white from running away, and after that, he will checkmate on the next move, either with queen h1 or queen h2. So this is the first trap I wanted to show you. After h5, white has to be careful. If he takes the bishop, he's in trouble. By the way, there is a very cool line here. After c3, queen d3. This has been playing at top level. The idea with queen d3 is that black doesn't want to allow white to play either d3 or d4, continue his development. And after h takes d4, it seems like white is winning because now there's no queen h4. However, black saves the day by playing a very funny move, bishop d6. Apparently it's blundering the queen, but after knight takes 3, bishop is 2 check. This is a draw because of both sides being forced to repeat moves, as white has no other option, and if black doesn't repeat, he will be a queen down for no reason, so this is a draw. There are many games in the database between very strong players that ended like this, but obviously this is not forced. I mean, for example, after c3, black could play something else. Also, something I wanted to mention is that the main line goes d3, queen f6, putting pressure against the knight. And something that black has to be careful with is that after bishop e3, if he were to castle long, this would be a very big mistake. I remember many years ago, I saw how a coach was telling her student to be careful with this, and the very next day, the student made this mistake in the game. After h4, knight h2. The key point here is that after queen h4, black is threatening the knight and checkmate, but queen takes e4, very important, is check. So now black is forced to allow the queen trade, and black will be a piece down. So, okay, here you have seen two traps equal, okay, and learned some theory. So let's jump to the next position. In this case, after e4, e5, well, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, knight f6. This is usually played to play the Berlin, a very popular line nowadays, where black is very solid. Actually, this line was used by Kramnik to defeat Kasparov in the World Championship match. After knight f6, the main move is short castle. And usually black takes on e4, but d6 is also possible. The point of d6 is just defending the pawn and trying to continue the development. White goes rook e1, defending the pawn, and black goes bishop g4, pinning knight. Here, white has this idea of playing d4, opening the position. The point is that after e takes d4, white doesn't want to take with the queen. White's idea is to go e5, which is very strong, opening lines, trying to take advantage of the opponent's king being in the center. And here comes the most important point, the most surprising move. After d takes e5, pause the video, try to find the best move. Okay, I hope you found it. Knight takes e5 is very strong, giving up the queen. But after bishop takes e1, knight takes e6 check, white is gonna gain back the queen on the next move. For example, bishop e7, knight takes d8 check with the bishop, and king takes d8, rook takes e1, white is a piece up. White is completely winning here. I'll show you how the game might continue, but okay, like any continuation is possible here, like many ways to play, but basically white is completely winning, okay? Because he's a piece up. Okay, just to finish and like show some cool mate, this could be a continuation, but okay. The most important part here is to understand why white is able to sacrifice a queen. The important thing here is black's king is weak in the center, and by opening the file, white has a tremendous initiative, okay? So be careful with this and try to apply it in other lines. In the next position, we'll see that, okay, again, e4, e5, well, all of this, bishop e5, knight f6. As I said, the Berlin. Main move is short castle, knight takes e4. The theory goes on, but a lot of players nowadays are playing d3 to avoid some forcing stuff. And here, black has many moves. Bishop c5 is the main one, probably. I know d6 is possible, but knight e7 is one of the sidelines black might try. This was tried by Rapport against Magnus Carlsen in at least 2 games. And the point is that black wants to reroute the knight to d6 and later play c6, d6, and finish his development, probably bishop e7, short castle. But one important question is, hey, but what happens if knight takes e5? Is this pawn free? Okay, no free pawn. Knight takes e5 could be a mistake. How can black try to gain a piece? Okay, he goes c6. attacking the bishop, and if we move the bishop, queen e5 check is coming, followed by queen takes e5. Okay. White went knight c4, or well, white could try knight c4, trying to set up a new trap. Here after c takes b5, knight d6 is checkmate, but in this position, black can just go knight d6, defend the d6 square, and take the bishop on the next move. If the bishop moves, black has b5. Well, knight d6 is possible, also d6. Idea is the same, black wants to defend the d6 square, and if bishop a4, there is b5. Obviously, if bishop a4, it's important to not blunder the d6 pawn. Knight d6 attacks the bishop, defends the pawn, and white is going to gain a piece in the next move. So be aware of this, okay? Both with white and black, because here there are two traps in one. Black sets up a trap, and white sets up a new one, but after knight c4, black can save the game and save the day and even win probably with d6 or knight d6. Okay. So the next one is a very beautiful one in my opinion, and well, more than beautiful, is very common one. Is that after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, okay, usual stuff. Here there are many move orders, okay. a6 is the main move, bishop a4. We could include knight f6, for example. We could start with d6, okay. There are different ways to get to the same position, but basically the idea is after b5, bishop a3, knight f6, for example, we go d4. Black takes the pawn. Let's say we castle, hoping for knight takes e4, rook e1, and we have some initiative here because of this pin. But black goes d6, and white takes on d4. This is a mistake, okay? It's a very natural move, but after knight takes e4, black can trade knights, and very important here, black goes c5. After c5, we are forced to move the queen, and when we move the queen, let's say queen e3, c4, the bishop is trapped, so white is losing a piece. White can try to create some initiative, for example with e5, but after d5, queen takes e5 check, bishop e7, black is completely fine, and white has no way to stop losing the bishop. Let's say bishop e5, I know, you can short castle, and white is completely fine, so be careful with this. Don't take the pawns like this when there is this idea for black to go c5, c4. In this position, one possible way to play is c3, giving up the pawn, but after this c3, knight takes c3, white has already castled, d5 is weak, we can try some rook e1, e5, knight e5, even some ideas with knight e5, attacking f7. White has compensation for the pawn. He's not worse at all. What we have to be careful with is don't take this pawn like this because of c5, c4 coming, and white is losing, okay? And the last trap for this video is, in my opinion, the most beautiful one. It's after e4, okay. I just wanted to mention that knight c6 is called the Nimzowitsch defense, but knight f3, e5 transposes obviously to the Ruy Lopez or Spanish variation after bishop b5. So here, as was explained in the first chapter, f5 is the Janisch Gambit or Schliemann Defense. White has many moves here, d4, knight c3. In this case, we'll take a look at d3, the most solid approach. After f e4, it takes e4, knight f6, attacking the pawn. White can just go short castle. If black takes on e4, we can go rook e1, use the fact that the black king is going to be exposed. So usually black plays their bishop c5 or d6. If black goes d6, he wants to go bishop e6, continue his development, and at some point he might want to castle. So the most accurate move here is bishop g4. The idea is to not allow black to go neither bishop e6 or short castle in the future. Black goes bishop g4, we kick the bishop away. If black takes on f3, we are very happy to grab the bishop pair. White squares are going to be very weak in the future. So black's best move is bishop h5, and we just continue our development. Black might be very happy here, because after knight d4, it seems like he's putting a lot of pressure against our knight on f3. If white was forced to play bishop e2, for example, black can take the bishop, queen takes e2. I don't think black is better here, but at least he's doing fine. However, white has a very strong move here, g4. The point is that if black moves the bishop, something like bishop e6, we just take on d4, and we gain a pawn. and we have a very good position. Probably the best move for black is to take on f3. But after queen takes f3, bishop g6, moves like g4, h4, h5 are very strong for white, and white keeps a very good advantage. And the critical test would be knight takes e4. The point being that ace d4, bishop g4, black tries to ping our knight, our king might be a bit weak, later he can try to attack our knight, bring pieces to attack our king, but here white has a very surprising move, a very nice one. This pattern is well known from the legals mate that is very famous, and later we'll see how it is, but the point here is knight takes e5. Giving up the queen, that's amazing. I mean, who could think that is possible? If black just takes back the knight, okay, we take on g4 and we are very happy. We are starting queen h5, taking the pawn e5, black and castle, white is up a piece, okay, like this is great for white, okay. And after bishop takes d1, white has checkmate into moves. Bishop f7 check, king e7, and knight d5 is mate, okay. This is not in the Ruy Lopez, but I wanted to mention that the legals mate that I was talking about earlier is very famous and happens here after knight c3, bishop g4, bishop c4, and d6. White goes knight takes e5. Very strong move. Idea is the same than we just saw. After bishop takes d1, bishop takes f7 check, king e7, and knight d5 is checkmate. I show you this, first of all, because it's good to know the most common patterns, the historical games, and also for you to be able to see that I'm showing you some typical patterns, some typical traps in the Ruy Lopez, but you can apply these ideas to many other openings, okay? I try to choose 5 traps that you can apply in other openings and are very useful. I hope you like them. I think they are really nice, especially this last one, but also some others. Honestly, for example, in the first one, we were giving out the queen, and yeah, hope you like it. See you in the next videos. Hope you enjoyed.